Dementia Researcher with a blog and a rating.
Much of our discussion around a career in academic research inevitably revolves around overcoming challenges or barriers to progression, work-life balance or job satisfaction. As someone who writes about these things every month, I am responsible for my fair share of academia bashing. Found myself backed into a corner recently. To set the scene, I was in the car with my mum while she was being super helpful and reminding me how bad I had let the weeds grow in front of my house. I had a tiny little outburst about how I had done 3 12-hour days in a row and had a meeting come up that I was stressed about, and it perhaps wasn't a great time to discuss my poor horticultural skills. There is a small chance my outburst was louder and more frantic than I would have liked to have been. I was taken back, however, from her response, as she turned to me and said, "I don't know why you don't quit. Ever since you started your PhD, I've never seen you happy about work. You're always stressed and seem miserable." I didn't really know what to say. Luckily, we had a quietly tense drive to mull things over. What she said stuck with me for the next week. I started to question if I really came across that way to friends and family. And worse, was it true? Should I just quit? After a while, I got quite annoyed, because I do actually love my work. I love science, and didn't like that I came across that way. So here I am, making a defence of research. The first defence is maybe a little corny, but I genuinely do love science. I always have and I always will. From dissections and titrations in school through to today. I count myself lucky that I've been able to study and work in many disciplines from biochemistry labs to data science. When I think to myself about what other careers I could do, the one thing that mostly pulls me back is thinking about how, not being at the sharp edge of science, finding answers to things genuinely unknown. In my work, I see data and statistical science like a puzzle, and get quite lost for hours coding, trying out different methods to model a question. Going back to the start, one of the reasons I was working so late was because I got caught up doing analysis for some neuropathology data, got carried away and ended up writing about 3,000 lines of code because I enjoy it. I like reading about methods or analysis techniques, learning the codes and then perfecting the visualizations to look good and streamlining the code the best I can. Yes, it's nerdy and a little sad, but I love it. Another big aspect of research is the people I work with and have worked with. Yes, everywhere you work, there will be those who stand out and make a mark on you. Become an enduring friend, and I count many of the people I've worked with in that category. Something about research is unique though. It's somewhere you can work alongside others who find all those nerdy little things that excite you, excite them too. In my experience, I've also enjoyed the mentorship, which I think is unique to research. In my case, my teachers became my PhD supervisors and then went on to be my colleagues. There's a natural environment where my boss has been my teacher, and much of the job is to never stop learning. I've been lucky enough to work with some of the country's and the world's leaders in their field, most of which have been a real privilege to learn from and become genuine friends with. Eventually, you begin to supervise students of your own and teach. I love this part of the job. Teaching helps me build confidence in my own abilities, giving me a different kind of satisfaction, working with people less experienced as me, but recognising the same drive and scientific curiosity. Personally, I've been lucky enough to have great experiences along the way in research. I love communicating science. Some of you may know I can be a little chatty with a tendency to overshare, so given a chance to talk to people about myself for stretches of time comes pretty naturally, and I've been able to do that on some pretty big and daunting stages. The big one, of course, is travel. I've been very lucky to attend an international conference almost every year since starting my PhD, and have loved every trip from Amsterdam to San Francisco. Again, not only the places themselves, but the experience of meeting new people from around the world, connecting and exploring new places together. I now look forward to conferences more and more, to catch up with friends from as far as Australia. Finally, there are just some practical reasons for working in academia. When I was younger, I worked in a few places which could be uncomfortable, and experienced homophobia. By and large, every research environment I've worked has been progressive and inclusive, with the vast majority of people trying to make things better. I also enjoy the flexibility. One of the things I find most challenging is keeping myself motivated working on very individual projects like a fellowship. But I think I would find it very difficult working again in an environment where there is a lot of expectation to be at a certain place at a certain time and not have control to work around my life and make my own day-to-day decisions about my work. I've also had both first-hand and second-hand experience of tough things happening in life. Illness, physical and mental, bereavements and relocations. And although it's not perfect, in my experience my research groups and leaders have always been supportive. Last but not least, the pension is pretty good too.
Thank you for listening. Join the Dementia Research bloggers and share your own views.